I have been a Muslim for now 17 years, and as lifestyle changes, a lot of things come up in life, and you don't have answers to your questions. So I'm just asking you this question. I don't have a woman, Sheikha, to ask a question to. So I'm sorry. I do not want to offend anybody, but I need to ask a woman question to you. But during menopause, when women get their periods, 1 day, 2 day, and then it stops, and then it comes again in after 3, 4 days, and it's like that. What do you do? Do you stop praying? Do you have to pray 2 days, do ghusl, and then start again, and then stop again? These are questions that I don't have answers to, and I want to, please. I'm so sorry I have to ask you this question, but I really appreciate. And my second,
To respect it, Sister Zahra. No sorry whatsoever, and you don't have to apologize. Women used to come to the Prophet ﷺ and ask him questions because he was the only source of informations. Nowadays, mashallah, there are many qualified scholars and female scholars. So presenting a question because you have a pressing need, you should not feel sorry or feel any regret about it. No problem whatsoever. In addition to, mashallah, you are presenting your questions in a very polite way. You know, the menopause and sometimes experiencing some bleeding. This is for women, obviously. So a few facts I would like to share with you before getting into the answer of the question. Only Muslim women worry about the specific type of the bleeding because it affects their salah, their fasting, their intimacy, their tawaf in Umrah or in Hajj. You know, non-Muslim woman, bleeding is bleeding. Just wear a pad and that's it. But in Islam, bleeding for the period is treated differently than the bleeding for istihada or off the period time, which is known as irregular bleeding. So the menopause may happen at any age, obviously not necessarily the 50s. Some women, they get pregnant after 60, and we hear about some women get pregnant after even at the age of 70. And a woman may experience menopause as it appears, and the period would stop completely. Then a couple months or even a couple years later, she would resume the period. Because of that, the woman has to learn how to become her own mufti in this regard through learning the rules. Any bleeding during the period regular time, which has the same characteristics of the menses, right away should be treated as a period. The dark blood, the continuous bleeding, and if there is spotting before or after, it will also be treated as bleeding. Sometimes the bleeding stops for a month, for 2, for 3, and it will resume. When did it start? At the same time of the period and the same color of the blood. Then treat it as a period. You don't pray, you don't fast, you don't do tawaf until it stops again. And when it stops, you perform ghusl and you resume your prayer. Even if you did not reach the menopause yet, you're a young woman who is experiencing the period on a regular basis, the irregular bleeding may take place of time. After you finish your period, a week later, you started spotting or seeing some bleeding. It could be due to the imbalance or disturbance in the progesterone, estrogen hormone, the female hormones, due to taking medications, psychological effect, to much pressure, trauma. So that will be classified as irregular bleeding, which will require a woman to wash her part and perform wudu prior to each prayer or prior to tawaf when the time has entered. As simple as that. And each case might need some assistance. You need to ask. Even if you ask the Sheikh, there is no problem. Women used to go to the Messenger of Allah and ask about how to clean up their orifice after the period. And the Nabi would answer them. This is basically something that concerns every Muslim woman, and especially young girls. You know, the mothers should really be concerned about teaching their daughters as early as at the age of 10 about the period and how you should go about it, and the cleaning and the ghusl and the tahara and offering the ibadat during the period and so on.